This is CBC Vancouver News.
Like, where's the logic in that?
Frontline trying to keep people safe is number one, right?
Confrontation caught on camera. Some evacuees take their frustrations out on the Premier in the interior today. Plus,
the mountains around our community are going to look different.
countless stories of survival emerge from the fire's epicenters. A clearer picture of what residents are going back to. And
Holy
we head to Prince George, where an early morning explosion rocked the city's core. Good evening, I'm Tanya Fletcher. The wildfires have been easing in parts of the interior, but in some areas the winds are picking up tonight, fanning the flames that are still burning. It comes as locals take stock of the losses. As the devastation sets in, frustrations are growing. Some say they feel abandoned by the province. Renee Filipponi leads our coverage tonight.
Yeah, the house that was there was a super nice house.
Along the north shore of Shuswap Lake, waterfront homes have burned to the ground. The fire leaving only chairs on the beach and a Canadian flag.
What's the level of frustration of people in this area?
Right here. It's up there.
Darren Tuoko takes us on a tour of the destruction. He's been ferrying people and supplies into evacuated areas. He says some who defied the orders were able to save their homes.
People just, they decide to say no and not go. Why? And lose everything when you can literally fight it. You got pumps, water right here. I'd do the same.
Where's our support? Looks like everything's burning around us.
There are growing tensions between police enforcing evacuation orders and residents who stayed behind. Officials continue to stress it's not safe to be there among the fallen trees and downed power lines.
And they are putting themselves at an extremely high amount of danger going into a fire-impacted area.
Oh my God.
BC Wildfire Service says this was one of the most aggressive fires it's ever seen. It even forced crews to pull back at one point. This video shows how some residents fought the flames to save their homes.
These people out there right now, they're putting their life on the line and they're proud of it.
Avery Schoaf and his son stayed too. He defends their decision, saying he has the right to protect his home.
They're not going to give up, and they're not really good at following rules. They know what's happening.
We feel like we've been abandoned.
This resident also stayed to document what's going on. She says the community needs much more support.
But there are many people that have lost their homes, some people who have lost their businesses, and some people who have lost their homes and businesses here.
Some evacuees took their concerns directly to BC's Premier on his first visit to the fire zones.
They're getting arrested. There are police boats at the shore, stopping supplies, fuel, for generators. People in Inglemont running out of food. They're trying to help boat stuff over. Like, where's the logic in that?
People on the front line trying to keep people safe is number one, right?
There are 200 municipal and wildfire fighters working in the Shuswap area. The province is urging people to abide by the evacuation orders. The concern is if this fire flares up again, resources will be needed to rescue people instead of fighting the fires. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Kelowna.
Well, several homes in the Little Shuswap Lake First Nation are gone. Premier David Eby also spoke with band members there today. John Hernandez is hearing their stories of survival and grief.
Too old to start over again?
The weight of the loss is still sinking in for Barney Toma. He fled his Squillax home on Friday.
I think it was Saturday night it became official that I lost everything. Standing there and wondering, okay, what do I do now then? I had nothing.
Hopes for the future dashed.
As a comic collector, 34,000 comics gone. That was my retirement fund.
Stories of loss and survival at this Kamloops evacuee camp heard firsthand by BC's Premier this morning. Barney's brother, the chief of the Little Shuswap Lake First Nation, also lost his home.
I got my wife out with seconds to spare.
Wow.
And me and my brothers and that, we had to run to the river. and we got trapped underneath the bridge, and we thought, you know, this might be it.
But frustrations were also palpable in this camp, mounting concerns for those who have defied evacuation orders to fight fires themselves.
Police boats at the shore, stopping supplies.
This Lee Creek couple, shown earlier, lost their homes days ago.
I've got brothers up there right now fighting to spot fires, but they stayed. And they need help. We need the cops to quit hindering the fire suppression. If there's looters, so what? It's only materials. We want to save the community.
But that's not how BC's Premier sees it.
This is an incredibly fluid, dynamic, and dangerous situation. The emergency response teams are doing the best they can in very challenging circumstances. And my best advice to everybody is to listen to those emergency frontline responders.
Messaging that's gotten through to many of the thousands of evacuees in the Shuswap region who believe crews are doing their best.
I've fought fires for over 40 years too. I know what goes through, and you do what you could, where you could, how you could.
A show of support during a time of tremendous loss. John Hernandez, CBC News, Kamloops.
So clearly a lot of frustration in the Shuswap area over how this fire has been handled. Let's bring in our Justin McElroy for more on this. And Justin, a lot of more anger in that area compared to what we've seen, say, in the past with fires, but also what we're seeing right now in Kelowna. So what's behind this difference?
Yeah, there are a number of reasons for the difference in the depth of anger. The evacuation orders for Kelowna were steadily issued throughout last Friday. The escape routes were generally close to highways, and the BC Wildfire Service was able to get in most places fairly quickly. Now, you contrast that with the Shuswap, where the fire spread very quickly on Friday night, but communication was much more chaotic. Some websites didn't work. And because of the geography of the North Shuswap as well, it took a while for firefighters to establish a large presence in areas like Scotch Creek and Lee Creek, Celesta, many of those smaller communities, which meant that locals who decided to stay or felt that they were already trapped had already started their own strategies for fighting the fire. And as a result, there's been more tension with the government than you might expect to see with most wildfires.
So we heard from the Premier there at the end of John's story. Do you expect any changes from the government in terms of strategy?
You know, we've heard from local officials that communication has improved since Friday and Saturday in terms of getting to local residents what they need. But in terms of overall strategy, no. And the province is facing an uphill battle when it comes to trust, particularly over the allegations of equipment being stolen. Now, ultimately, a lot of things can be true. The government does need cooperation in highly dangerous situations like this. And there are legitimate concerns from them in how some people have disobeyed orders. But the province got to the situation late. People are protective of their properties, and it's a hard conflict to untangle in the middle of a crisis like this one.
It's our Justin McElroy joining us tonight. Let's head to Kelowna now, where we're getting a clearer picture of the destruction. The latest tally is up to 200 structures destroyed across the region. Our Brady Strachan continues our coverage from the Okanagan. Brady.
Tanya, as you can see, we can now see the hills here in West Kelowna. It's a sight we haven't seen here for several days because the smoke was just so socked in here. But we've had a little bit of change in the winds that are not blowing like we saw last week, but enough to kind of clear the smoke out of here a bit. That has allowed officials to get a better look from the sky at the amount of structure loss in the area. And at a news conference earlier today, they hinted at some of the numbers to come here. They estimate that around 200 structures are confirmed lost. That's about 70 in the West Kelowna area, about 20 on West Bank First Nation land, also in this area here, close to 100 further down West Side Road in the communities that are beyond West Kelowna here, and then a handful in the Kelowna area. So if you start looking at it, around 200 structures so far confirmed to be lost, that is getting to be numbers close to 2003 when the horrible fires ripped through the Okanagan, the fires of note up until now. And Tanya, we also had a visit from Premier Eby here. He came and spoke at the evacuee reception center, and he addressed something that evacuees have been saying, which is the long wait to speak and get emergency services. So let's have a listen what he had to say.
We don't want people sleeping in their cars. We don't want them staying in large communal response centers. We want them to have some dignity in their moments of stress and tragedy, which is why we're doing this work.
Tanya, the Premier said that they're bringing more resources in to help shorten the wait times so evacuees here can get seen sooner and get into hotels sooner if that's what they need. Tanya.
Thank you so much, Brady. Our Brady Strachan in Kelowna for us. Well, the province has partially lifted the regional travel ban that was in place to make room for evacuees and fire crews during peak tourist season. The travel restrictions do remain in place, though, for the epicenter in West Kelowna. It comes as the toll of the economic blow adds up. As Leanne Young is finding out, some evacuees are fearing their livelihoods are now also at risk.
Oh, it was inundated, right through to mid-September.
Jason Lloyd can barely keep up with the cancellations flooding his inbox.
For us right now, it's almost like the entire season is written off.
His family poured their hearts into building up their summer tiki boat tours on Okanagan Lake. 80% of his revenue comes during the summer.
It's saving mode right now, and I'm already thinking in my head what I have to start cutting back on to get us through this winter to the following season. It's a survival mode, really.
But first, his family has to get through evacuations. 7 of them are in a single hotel room after leaving their home in West Kelowna's Rose Valley. It is déjà vu. 8 years ago, the Lloyds were evacuated from Fort McMurray. What would help offset some of the stress, he says, is some emergency funding.
We want to make sure we're not forgotten here, and we employ local people as well. Not on the grand scale, it's not large operators, but I mean, we have a team of 12 people that rely on us for an income as well.
An hour and a half south of Kelowna in Cawston, there's no sign of evacuations from fires, only frustration at this now empty organic farm.
So here I have all this property tax, $30,000 that I pay, and we only make our money in July and August. So our guest suites, our restaurant is empty, and we have to close down. I'm actually just writing out paychecks right now as I lay people off because I have no one to come.
Klippenstein says they're still recovering from COVID closures, and tens of thousands of dollars worth of pandemic loans are due this year.
It's been 4 years of struggle.
The Premier has said they're still assessing losses from the wildfires. Kelowna's mayor says he will be asking the province for tourism funding. But for now, the focus is getting through the firefight. Leanne Young, CBC News, Vancouver.
A new poll finds more than half of Canadians expect wildfires to worsen in the future. And up to a quarter of young adults are considering relocating to a safer place because of it. The Angus Reid survey reveals 1 in 4 Canadians feel this year's record-breaking fires will be the new normal, and that most think smoky summers are here to stay. Overall, Canadians are twice as likely to say climate change is directly contributing to worsening fire seasons than not. The 2023 wildfire season has already been declared the worst ever recorded in the country, with millions of hectares burned so far. Let's bring you some other news today. It was a scene of chaos in Prince George this morning. A massive explosion rocked the city's core, leaving multiple people hurt, including one who's in critical condition in the hospital tonight. Michelle Gassoub has been at the scene today.
If you look behind us, you can see a massive pile of debris, what is left from a huge explosion that rocked downtown PG early this morning at 7 a.m. Video from the aftermath actually shows people crawling through the rubble, though it's unclear if they were inside that building or just in the area when there was the explosion. Now, we've confirmed 3 people were taken to hospital. One of those people does have serious injuries, is in critical condition. RCMP are now investigating this explosion as suspicious.
The cause of the explosion is currently unknown. Many people with injuries have been already taken to hospital, some by bystanders and some by first responders, paramedics and police officers as well. So we don't know the extent of their injuries or how many.
Now, this truly was a huge explosion with a massive blast radius. People up to 5 kilometers away reported hearing it. Some people thought that it was an earthquake. Other people were just woken up with a jolt.
My ex and my daughter live just over there, and shook their whole apartment. And my daughter was scared. She woke up and she was just shaking.
Some local businesses also suffered damage. There are buildings up to 3 blocks away that actually had their windows shattered, so business owners here are still assessing those damages. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Prince George.
Well, still ahead, another blow to BC ferries. A ship that went down last week will be out for the rest of the summer, turns out, and beyond. Those details are next. And thank you for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. With the ongoing wildfires and the devastation they're causing, we spoke with the head of the Wine Growers BC Association to find out what impact this fire season has had on tourism in BC's wine region.
Now we have Miles Broden on the line. Miles is the president and CEO of Wine Growers British Columbia. Thanks for staying with us, Miles, through the newscast. You know, just before that, you were talking about the hit that you've taken in terms of tourists not coming back to wine country after the pandemic. That surprises me. You know, we hear a lot about how people are eager to travel and are doing so, but you're saying they're not coming back to the wineries?
Not to the level that we had seen prior to the pandemic, but I think we understand that there are concerns with everyone's budget. If it's not inflation, it's interest rates, and everyone's affected by it. And so we just see people just not really coming to visit. I think the other aspect, and this we can't quantify, but we just sort of intuitively feel that it's the fear or thought of a fire, not a fire, but the smoke affecting a holiday. So what we've seen a lot is cancellations of weddings. Weddings planning goes are years in advance, obviously, and they're booking at wineries, and they're starting to cancel those anecdotally. And they're even before a fire or smoke comes, they just are worried that it may well be the case when the wedding comes around. So I think just the thought of smoke and impacting a holiday is part of it as well. And so that's the concern, and it's really too bad. Obviously, not just for the wineries, but the whole wine and culinary cuisine tourism around the province, not just here in the Okanagan, is really built up, and it's special because it's rural. It's really about dispersing those tourists that come to Vancouver, Victoria, Whistler. But it really, because of the nature of we growing the wine, literally, people come to probably less visited areas around the province. So, and again, hotels and everything that holds up that. But the numbers just aren't there. And so this is even prior to the situation here in Kelowna. So, we're hoping for a big flourish at the end, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the case.
But, I can understand that must be quite disturbing because the Okanagan is certainly known as a place for destination weddings. And if more and more, like in the past few summers, we're having smoky Julys and fiery, smoky Augusts, it could mean a change to the big picture in terms of it being a destination.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it is a special. It is, unique. We get people from all over the world, wine journalists, winemakers, who are quite blown away literally when they come and see what we've got here to offer. Not just the wines and the quality wines that we produce, but just the unique, conditions between the mountains and the lake and the river. I mean, just all over BC, there's fantastic conditions that make it very, very unique.
Welcome back. Let's take you to Surrey now, where a man in his 30s has died after being hit by a pickup truck today. RCMP say he was struck while trying to cross Highway 17 between intersections around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Police say the driver of the pickup remained on scene and is cooperating with police. Investigators do not believe alcohol or speed had anything to do with the crash. BC Ferries is urging travelers to book ahead if they're sailing between Tsawwassen and Nanaimo. That's because the Coastal Renaissance, which serves that route, will be docked for at least 2 months. A different ship is being put in its place.
That vessel will service traffic on Tuesday and Wednesdays, and that will be true for the duration of the ship being out of service, the Coastal Renaissance. So that will help mitigate, not entirely, but in part, some of the impacts associated with the Renaissance undergoing an unexpected repair.
The vessel is being repaired after it broke down last week. Multiple sailings have been canceled until further notice. BC Ferries is contacting the passengers affected. Well, one of the firefighters at the epicenter of the interior fires became a Canadian citizen yesterday while on the front lines. Walter Roos is from the Netherlands, but is currently living near Chilliwack with his wife and 5 kids, serving as the fire chief of the Popcom Fire Department. His team was deployed to West Kelowna last week to help protect homes from the fire that closed in on the region there. Yesterday, he paused to receive his Canadian citizenship in full uniform, surrounded by his colleagues.
It was definitely a little bit different. I ended up talking in the morning to our task force leader and said that I had to do this at 9:30 if he could work with me on this. So he gave me a location that was as close to the city as possible so that we'd have cell service. And then I set up the laptop, or the iPad, sorry, and started the process there on Zoom. It was awkward, but it was interesting at the same time. So we had Zoom set up on the iPad, and did the whole work just sitting in my work gear. They definitely thought it was pretty interesting as well. Every now and then they'd peek their head through the window, just to kind of see what was going on. It was a funny and a kind of a good experience.
You're looking at a live shot of the Port of Vancouver. The winds are picking up tonight in Kelowna and other parts of the interior. We'll see what those gusts are expected to do with the wildfire situation. Your full forecast is next.
I think this will probably be gone today.
Arlene Wheeler's backyard has become a drop-in donation center. With more than 700 evacuees from the Northwest Territories registered in her small city of Leduc, just south of Edmonton, she figured people would need supplies. And she was right. More than 60 have asked for help so far. After days away from home, evacuees are running out of clean clothing. They need food. In the rush, one family left without their stroller. Expenses are adding up, the cost of it all beyond some families' budgets. And so, a helping hand.
It's pretty emotional for a lot of people, for sure. Especially when somebody said to me, he said, "You're renewing my faith in humanity." And so that was like, whoa.
Some evacuees don't have vehicles, so volunteers are going to them, visiting hotels and a local campground. Others are collecting donations in Edmonton. A local baseball club even opened its doors to families.
So people can have some fun and take their minds off matters for a few hours.
Evacuees say they appreciate the hospitality.
Everybody's been praying for us. That's so amazing, you know, like strangers. And then I went on a taxi with a lady I just met. She wouldn't let me pay for the cab and stuff like this. People are just gold, you know.
Help is also heading north, with communities in Western Canada sending firefighters and equipment to Yellowknife. These fire trucks sent in from the city of Edmonton. Rain has offered some help in the firefight there, but it's not enough. And wildfires still threaten several other communities in the territory.
It is definitely not safe to come back to these communities.
Evacuees know they won't be going back for a while. So for now, Alberta will be their home away from home. And volunteers are helping make that a little easier. Madeline Cummings, CBC News, Edmonton.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
Support sustainable agriculture and celebrate local food with Margaret Gallagher at Feast of Fields. Enjoy the Gourmet Harvest Festival at the Stable Harvest Farms on September 10th. Tickets at farmfolkcityfolk.ca. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter at cbc.ca/Vancouver inbox and keep connected with us.
Well, every year there is at least one weird, inventive dish at the PNE, something you might try once just to say you did. We hit the fair to see what exactly they're cooking up. Take a look.
This is a first-time booth here at the PNE. So this is black vanilla with cotton candy, flavored waffle cone, and cotton candy wrapped around, and a waffle biscuit that we design ourselves, and a marshmallow. And the best part is when the kids see it, it's the biggest smile that we love on their face, and everyone looks at it and they're like, wow.
Okay, who else is sampling? Peter?
Yes, I will. It's the birria grilled cheese sandwich, the beef birria grilled cheese sandwich, otherwise known as the quesadilla. This is good. It's fire.
Another first-time PNE booth.
Right now we just have our spicy salmon in California. So the California is like the fair special.
Yeah.
That one you get for $10 at the fair only.
Yeah.
And the other two are the spicy salmons, which is our most popular.
Everything's hand-done, hand-tossed, all family recipes, and this has been very, very popular.
A slow roasted duck home feast. We roast it. Fraser Valley specialty poultry products. Hand tossed. It's our secret recipe dough. All right.
That way.
That's pretty.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Let's bring in our Darius Madavi for a look at the forecast. Darius, when talking about the wildfires, we usually talk, say, wind or lightning or rain, but today we're talking humidex.
Well, whoever thought we'd be happy to be looking at a humidity map? It's not the most exciting thing, but if you take a look here, you can see where that band of precipitation was today, that band of moisture moving up because of Hillary, the aftermath of Hillary. And if we look at tomorrow, you can sort of see where it's shifting. So it was over here, and it's shifted up through the province, or up through the southern interior overnight and moved up into the central part of the province. And if we take a look at our precipitation forecast, you can see as this low pressure system moves out of the area, you can watch it pull that precipitation with it. So we get a good blanket through the southern interior tonight as that band of moisture sort of moves out of the area. So hopefully we should be getting anywhere from 5 to even 15 millimeters through the Okanagan and up into the Thompson, which should really help at least slow down the fires in near Kelowna and in the Shuswap. So really, really good news in terms of that precipitation if we do see as much as we're hoping to overnight. Now, in terms of the smoke forecast, it's a similar story to today. Those winds are still going to be blowing primarily from the south, pushing that smoke up into the central interior as far north as Prince George. And meanwhile, still pretty clear skies for Victoria and Vancouver because we don't have that wind pushing that smoke towards us anymore. So tonight, expect temperatures to come down quite a bit. These are well below seasonal through the southern interior because of all that smoke and that rain passing through the area. Into tomorrow, similar story. Temperatures stay fairly suppressed through the area. Normally, we'd expect to see, I don't know, high 20s, low 30s in this area this time of year. And for Vancouver, similar story. Temperatures stay pretty low overnight as we get some showers tonight. And then into the end of this week, the rain clears up and nothing but sun in the forecast ahead, starting early tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you so much for that, Darius. That is your late news for this Tuesday. For news anytime, anywhere, download our free CBC News app. You can always head to our website, cbc.ca/BC for the very latest. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.